So let's just get to the rumours. I don't think OG are tweeting that out about Valde unless that deal's already been talked about and is on the table. And spoiler, by the way, Valde's agent, he's a former co-founder, I believe, of Astralis, and also worked at Blast with Nicola Nyholm, Jordi Roig, I think his name is, and now he's repping Val. There's no way it's not happening. There's no way, right? Like, Valde has to be going to fucking Astralis to replace Zyrathenia, yeah? Or I'm out of my motherfucking mind. Now, here's the thing. Forget that for a second. There's also, it can't be real. But tell him.
Basically, here's the thing. This isn't my story I'm reporting. I have to do that again on By the Numbers.
Yeah, I know.
Spoiler. Here's the reason why it wouldn't be. Why the fuck would I drop it here? You know what I mean? Why would Richard? Guess what? He drops it on the site that pays him and he wins a fucking awards for it. You don't drop it here. It's why I actually know they're full of shit on half the podcast when they say stuff. We just put the stuff here that we can't say is true because we've only heard it as a rumor or all signs point to it. So basically what I heard behind the scenes, and I'll be careful how much I say about this, but essentially the whole device to NiP thing wasn't what it appears, as in it wasn't perhaps the reasons we were told. I want to finally be number one. NiP is 5 steps ahead. We are going to do so. It's like signing Cristiano. It wasn't any of those things. As far as I can tell, it was something to do with Device's personal life, which has changed. And now, basically, that story, here's another, I'll drop a little fucking, I'll throw a bone to the fans here. You know, like Richard just pointed out there, why would OG out of nowhere be going like, maybe we should give Valde to them? Spoiler, if the deal's not done, maybe charge a little bit extra for that. Now the fans know that they want you on there because we've got fan support. Like that, right? Have you ever noticed how in Denmark, people who themselves have connections and have played with these players, Pimp would be an example, who's an influencer, an analyst, has opinions, willing to speculate. Here's how they do what we do on this show. We say, well, I've heard this player's going there. They do this, Richard. It's smart because it makes you look like you're super knowledgeable about the game. You go, I think they should make this lineup. And you just say the lineup that you've heard the same rumor I have. But you're making it like, if I was in charge, I'd do this. And then when they do it, it looks like you're a bloody genius. But the joke is, I've heard Valde goes there. And yes, I have heard the fucking prodigal son returns. Device comes back to Astralis. So by the way, if no one's keeping track, sorry, Farley.
I know you're just still on the wiki file.
I know, mate. That's the problem. People are going to wonder how I'm going to resolve this because let's be real. I'm going to actually be quite excited by the lineup. Like it will be a competent team. So what I'll do is this. Competitively, I will always give people their due. Get ready though, because I'm going to do a video and it's going to essentially be about why is Astralis allowed to literally just exploit and destroy the careers of young men as a stepping stone. There is Bobski, there is Lockie, there is Farlig. Dude, that's in like 1.5 year span or something mental. And all what? So that after all this bullshit, you get back to Device again. Like at that point, I consider that bad faith behavior from Astralis, you know.
Oh, totally.
I don't feel like you ever gave either of these guys their real chance. Essentially, what you said is an impossible task. It's like, you know what? Right, Lockie, you have to be a really good AWP at tier 1. Can't even do that. Farlig, you have to almost like, I don't know, fucking make us get to the semis of the major. Like these are not reasonable expectations. You shouldn't be throwing a guy in the deep end there. Because again, same thing with Lockie, right? Obviously he's in contract hell, but think of Farlig, right? Who's going to pick him up? He hasn't shone. He hasn't had breakout games. This is probably the zenith of his career, and he didn't even get like a year. He didn't even get the 6 months. What does he get? A couple of months? That's whack as fuck, mate.
I mean, what'd be interesting is if we'll be able to see what type of contract he signed, right? Because here's the thing: if he signed,
I certainly wonder about that. Yeah, is it one where he was on a trial basis, or was it one where he had like, if you don't get X at the major? Because let's be real, they're fucking cynical enough to do that.
Yeah, and also it also suggests that maybe there's been look. I don't know anything. I've got no insight in whether or not Device is going to go back. I've heard the exact same thing. Yeah. I've heard it, but I've been hearing it for a while. So I just
it sounds to me like this is why I have to be very careful again, because unlike cocksucker fucking Casper Fid, I don't take lightly mental health. I think actually, in fact, I go the other way, Richard. I think it is such an important topic that if it ever comes out that it isn't totally for that, but you use that as the main reason, I've told you, I use it as a stolen valor principle. You are actually making light of mental health because you know it is a smokescreen no one can penetrate. In the same way as if someone came in and said, I am depressed, you can't say to them, no, you're not. You have to say yes. You have to take it. So the problem is this. Not only did dev1ce not play for ages for NiP now, we're talking like 5-6 months, guys.
Yes.
Not 2 months, not 1 month. By the way, he never got this sort of fucking break in Astralis. He got a couple of months off. Oh, no, he didn't even get the time off. Sorry, he didn't even take time off in Astralis. I forgot about that one.
He didn't even take it off, yeah.
So the thing that kills me is this angle. It's like, because I was hearing, and those tweets from Pimp, etc., were at the major last year, we've already been hearing the rumblings this might happen essentially 6 or 7 months ago now. And it sounds to me like both teams would, either he was trying to get his way back there, or they were trying to see, do we really need him though? Now, what would the deal be? They were waiting to see what happens with NiP, and then NiP's doing all these weird things, or are they getting brought on, or what's going on here? And so when all this shit's circling around, I also feel like that's a part I'm a bit uncomfortable with, because I don't know that I buy the story completely for that one reason, that he's just waiting and that he's about to become mentally well, and that's why he's going to play for Astralis. That just seems to me akin to, this happens in Dota if people don't know. Classically, if you win TI in Dota, what you do is you win, then you go, I retire now that I've won TI, and then they go, right, we release you for your contract. 3 months later, you join the team you want to join next. That's how they do it over there. Yeah, I'm getting that sort of vibe.
Well,
it's like,
listen,
you didn't really retire.
Here's how I don't think the mental health thing's at play anymore. If it was, that interview Hampus just did, where he said,
oh, it's wild, yeah.
This is the lineup I want to see us keep going with Esatag on the oar.
I don't think you ever say that if he's coming back.
No. First of all, yeah, you definitely don't say if he comes back. But if he's off and he's sick, that's mad insensitive. So, so no. He was back. He was grinding FPL. He was,
and remember though,
put down as
because here's my problem. When everyone started this exact speculation, that's when he said about the mental health. That was essentially what he said. He essentially came out and said, "It's mental health. Who wants to take this on? No one does." So we go, okay, mate.
By the way,
my bad.
I absolutely do not doubt he crashed.
Oh, absolutely.
I do not doubt.
Remember, he still does have those physical health problems. Yes. By the way, if people don't know, this is what's weird. The reason those problems will always fuck you is because it's stressful to be on stage. It's also stressful to not be doing well. Like both of them cause stress, and Faz, I know it isn't his one of those ones where stress makes it worse.
He has a stomach condition that is exacerbated by stress, so he gets a very bad physical reaction.
Yes. So I've no doubt he had some impingement of that. I will never say that is not the case, of course.
Yes. Yeah. But for real, like, it seems to me that, well, certainly his NiP career is over, and leaving this very strange situation. And I suppose while we're at this impasse,
do it.
We can talk about the sticker story I published on Desert or just a few days ago. Basically, for those who may have missed it, you can go look it up. But there's a dispute going on between the players, both some current, some who aren't there anymore. Sources have told me that basically NiP were of the opinion that the sticker money that went out in the capsule for the 2020 Rio Major, that was released after the major was cancelled, as a way of, okay, sorry, we're not having a major. We understand you're missing out on some money. We're going to do some sticker sales, and they're going to pop off and be more popular, because obviously there is no attached major. It's a one-off kind of like occurrence. So obviously all the people
even makes it rarer in a way, doesn't it? Yeah.
All the people that are collectors and shit are all on it. And then that was a way of giving a cash injection to the teams. And obviously Valve took 50% off the top because it's Valve.
It's Valve.
They're
always going to get their beak wet. We all know that.
So anyway, to put the long story short, I've had a bit more time to update the story, and we made some minor edits to it, but just so people know, the Legends stage capsule, I am told, was in the region of about $3 million. That's what each team got in the Legends stage. And obviously the teams with the team capsules, they pocket a portion, and then they share some with their players. And obviously for signature stickers, they all go to the players. That's typically the norm. That's why they're there. So apparently there's this ongoing issue where NiP have decided that the capsule was created by Valve solely for the purposes of the teams to get a cash injection so they could survive during the pandemic. So I was...
when you say that, though, I have a quick question. So the obvious question was, I notice, again, people don't get this. They'll never get it. But I tried to make this point on Twitter. The whole reason why Nell looked like a fool over that Shearer thing is because he tried to do what we do and wade in, but he wasn't careful around the right areas. We're very careful with our phrasing. We'll never say something. So one thing I would ask there is, I noticed you said they are of the opinion. Is that, do they actually have evidence of Valve telling them that is what it was made for?
Well, not that I've seen. But what
that's key to me, you know.
So based on the statement they made to the players. So basically, there was a group chat, and Jonas Kalk Gunderson, who was the COO of NiP, he addressed the players because they were concerned about, are we getting the sticker money? Are we not getting the sticker money? They have an agreement in their contract, by the way, which I'll start by reading that. In their contract, it says, quote, the team shall receive 16.6% of the team stickers earned by the player. The player shall receive the remaining 83.33% of the team stickers money divided with his teammates. The player shall allocate 2% of the player's sticker money to a marketing fund dedicated to the CSGO team. Team shall, when receiving the sticker money, deduct and transfer that to a dedicated bank account. The fund shall be spent on initiatives approved by the CSGO team. A minimum 4 members of the CSGO team have to approve how that money is spent. The player shall receive 100% of the individual stickers money, that's the signatures, which is allocated to the players. That is the clause. By the way, I'll put this on a sidebar. That 2% shit, I've never seen nothing like that in a contract in all my life. We'll come back to it. Anyway, this is what... So off the back of that, the players believe, again, according to sources talking to me, the players believe that they should have the sticker money, the portion of it, and that NiP are going to take their 16%, and then they're going to get the remainder divided up between the 5 players at the time, which is 3 players on the current roster, and Nork and Twist, who were on the roster at that time, no longer at NiP. Anyway, so Jonas Kalk Gunderson, in a group chat to all of the players, said, I understand there's a lot of talk floating around the stickers, and that's in air quotes. We've talked about this earlier, but it seems people have forgotten. These were capsules created by the teams and okayed by Valve in order to survive the pandemic and keep paying salaries without any cuts, despite the complete lack of sponsorships and exposure. Therefore, it's not stickers as it would be normally because there was no major. This was a desperation move for many teams because elsewhere, something like half would have pulled out of CSGO altogether. I know many teams treated this differently, and some paid portions out to the players. We opted not to do that and keep salaries intact and the business running normal, adding more support staff around the team to make it an even better place to win majors. There's also very different contracts on teams based on the normal sticker money, where you guys get almost 100%, and either way, everyone does things individually. Now, there's a lot in that statement that I take exception to. Let's start with the assertion that the capsules were created by Valve for the teams to survive the pandemic. There is nothing in Valve's blog that says that, apart from a vague wording which says, for these stickers, 50% of the proceeds directly supports the teams. I believe NiP are expecting that line in the blog to do a lot of heavy lifting for the argument. But that, to me, says Valve are taking 50%. The 50% of the sales is going to you. And
then you divide it how you divide it. There you go.
Right.
That's what I thought as well when I saw it. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it's entirely possible that actually Valve did it with that intent, but Valve are never coming out and clarifying that. What you do, this is a private contractual dispute. What you do with sticker money is private. It's part of your business. Valve are not going to come out and clarify. And I will also tell you this, Valve will not like the fact that you have invoked them in this at all. Especially given it's fucking NiP of all organizations.
Again.
Haven't we fucking done this before, guys, with the sticker money and the prize money?
By the way, jokes aside, if this was League of Legends, as bad as people think Riot is, this fucking org wouldn't be in the business anymore, mate. They would be out that fucking door. When you fuck players over and over, you will, even Riot goes, bloody hell, it's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, though. I know from back when I broke that story, unfortunately, not a lot of people know it because it was when I was writing for the Bad website for a brief period of time. We drove that CEO that was essentially robbing the players and not paying them. We drove him out the business. Per Lillyfelt, he went. right? You can go look it up. Go look at my reporting. They owed the entire team. This is how much the scene scaled up. They owed the entire team like 340,000. Now you're talking potentially 340,000 players, money per player, and that's fucking crazy, right? Yes. Now, so I reject the premise. By the way, like as I said, I talked to other owners. I talked to owners in the legend stage. I talked to owners also further down the capsule just to make sure there was no mixed messaging. Bottom line. Every other owner that got back to me, every other owner I was able to contact said they paid the players. And also, they don't recall anything from Valve them being told directly, you are free to pocket this money. It is so you survive the pandemic. This seems to be pure, unless NiP can prove otherwise, this seems to be entirely NiP's interpretation, which of course is problematic. Next, they also said, right, that we decided to pocket the money to keep salaries intact and the business running normal, adding more support staff.
That's the giveaway, isn't it?
What do you mean?
What you've essentially said there is, I need the money just to keep afloat, but actually I'm going to use it to get a boat and I'm going to be on top. Like, which is it? Are you peddling water? Are you desperate to stay alive? By the way, that in itself is even quite telling that didn't come out as a story. It shows that Valve doesn't just go for every fucking like nice feel-good story. Spoiler, I know from Flashpoint, loads of orgs that did not want to let on in public were destroyed by what was going on. The ones who had the sports teams, the ones who had certain tech companies that had like fucking issues. Like some of these teams were literally, they went from like, I have millions budget to nothing this year. So I can imagine this did keep them afloat. There might even be a scenario here where if you couldn't put the truth serum into calc, he would just say, mate, there'd be no NiP. We wouldn't, so they wouldn't get the money either way. Maybe the business goes bankrupt. The problem is, like you say, he's trying to simultaneously be like, we needed it, but also then he's like, but he's like trying to make it sound like, here's the worst part about saying you added the support staff. I think that's supposed to sound like, I did give you the money, but I gave you it in the form of a better coach. I gave you some psychology. That sounds like you're saying you gave it back. You didn't. Spoiler, that's your business. That increases the value of your business. That is paying your staff. What you did, if that's true, is if someone determines that should have been player money, you took player money and essentially invested it into your business. And by the way, just as Nork and Twists know all too well, the second your services are no longer required, goodbye, I will not be investing in you. So like, that's why I do that. There's something exploitative about the way he phrased that. I agree.
And then on top of that as well, another part of it, we took them, it was okayed by Valve in order for us to survive the pandemic, so we could keep paying salaries without any cuts. But by the way, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Any cuts you would have made would have been completely optional and voluntary on behalf of the staff, because a contract is a contract. And we saw all this with Astralis beforehand.
Yes, absolutely.
So you wouldn't have been able to just willy-nilly make cuts. And by the way, you could terminate contracts, but then you would have had to pay out more money. So, don't go framing it that way neither. And then they said, despite a complete lack of sponsorships and exposure. Did I miss the part, by the way, where NiP lost all their sponsors in the pandemic? Why wasn't that announced? Because
it wasn't. Yeah,
they still had them on the website.
And here's another detail. I know you were going to go here anyway, but I'll just say it now. Right, we're still in 2020 in our minds here. We're still their decision at the time, Richard, figuring out what we do with sticker money and what was the back and forth. Here's the other part that actually, this makes me sick. This actually makes me sick to my stomach. You know, one of the reasons I hated the Astralis story so much in CSGO when they asked them to take the pay cuts and they weren't letting them have the time off is because I knew in League of Legends, players had already taken a pay cut to join and then were being told not just take a pay cut, but even manipulation like this guy in the office is fired. Don't you want Jimmy to have a job still? Like the most abusive possible toxic way to do it. Similarly, here's my problem. Think of the two topics we've discussed. dev1ce might come back from NiP, and then so they signed dev1ce in the meantime, and then they've just signed Brolan. So what you mean, Richard, is an org that notoriously didn't do giant, big free agent signings, and these weren't even free agents, has signed two players that were even under contract for enormous sums of money. Spoiler, millions of dollars. And they're admitting now by his own words, they don't have sponsors and money. Sounds like the millions of dollars came from this.
Makes me wonder, by the way, what you really mean by support staff, because, it's a hell of a coincidence that you've decided to pocket something that we know is in the region of $3 million. And And you remember how cagey they were when it was devices $1 million buyout, Brolin 700,000. Remember at that press conference where Hitcham Shaheen was there? And he was going, well, we don't need to talk about the transfer fee. And there was that weird agency involved as well, right? Crazy shit. So look, I'm gonna just say this. This story is not gonna go away, and I'll tell you why. So my understanding from talking to sources is that the current players on the roster that may or may not be owed this money, they don't want to rock the boat.
Of course.
They're at a major, especially.
That's the NiP way anyway. That's just what you do when you're nipping it. You're in the mafia. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to get killed if you say anything.
Yeah, you can't say shit, right? That's how that is. But Nork, in particular,
who, by the way, if you follow what I just said, they used the money that was his to replace it with device. Like, bro, Jonas Gunnarsson, Cal, you are a cunt, mate. I'm sorry, you just are. Like, the joke is, because you're Danish, why did they just not let you win Astralis? You just you are like the heir to Nicola Nyholm or something. It's mental, isn't it?
So you have that. Then, right, like, so Nork is, according to sources, is not going quietly at all. Like, apparently he's kicking and screaming. And I also heard there's a chance that the CSPPA might be getting involved and taking a look at all this.
Okay.
Now I know the CSPPA ain't done anything for a while, but I'll give them their due. First of all, they lit a fire under Isak's ass to get them coaches banned and to get them finishing, the entire coach bug investigation. They said they weren't going to tolerate the potential of cheaters going and competing at a major. Good job. You actually use some leverage in a right way for a change. Now, on top of that, they released a statement congratulating Isak for doing it, saying they absolutely stand in lockstep with them. They've agreed a partnership where they're going to work together where possible with overlap. They even personally thanked me and Lewis Mira, which probably is where Lewis Mira had that shit about him being a snitch come from, but whatever the fuck, because no one can tell the CSPPA and Isak apart. But
the problem I have as well, by the way, is as you're describing and outlining here, this is why politics always makes for strange bedfellows. Because now suddenly I'm on the bloody CSPPA side, and I'm like, you should get your shit together, because that's how the industry works.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a very changed.
Yes,
it's a very changed space right now.
Yes.
From what I can tell, it was back when it was the active tier 1 pros. They were very interested in feathering their nests. I mean, this came up again, by the way, completely unrelated, but it's that type of podcast. You know what you get when you sign up to buy the numbers. Obviously, Twists did an interview where he was talking about the NA players that didn't want to stick around in CS and moved across to Valorant for an easy paycheck. By the way, he said absolutely nothing wrong, but those NA players who had done that or thought they had done that caught feelings and were
they wanted their cake and to eat it.
In esports?
I know. It's so silly.
Surprise me, sir.
I know.
But anyway, the reality is they did make some good points. And one of the points they made was talking about the CSPPA not fighting for them when ESL took away all their slots and essentially left them without a place to go. The old CSPPA was not what it appeared to be. It was fugazi. It was selling a false bill of goods. It was not repping players at all, and seemed to be something Mads Oland wanted to do as a way to get into esports, particularly with a focus on Denmark in particular, but also he wanted to run an agency on the side.
He wanted a side business. Yeah, exactly.
That's all gone now. And what you've got is you've got players who, they're not tier 1 players. They don't have the same reputation level as some of their counterparts, with maybe the exception of MBK. But I'll tell you what, they give a shit.
They're the ones who care. These are the ones who always cared, mate. If people don't know, these are the players me and Richard have fucked with the whole time. Stako, fucking NBK. If Christian had stayed, he'd be the one as well. Like, these are the players who are the ones you want running it. And Stako, by the way, and NBK really do care more about the strength of the scene than getting themselves rich, which, by the way, you're all going to go, that's what you should do, like fucking Roy Keane or something. But like, guess what? That isn't the actual standard. Just like when Roy Keane says that about someone scoring 30 goals for like Real Madrid or whatever, like, that actually isn't their job, Roy. That's really good, mate. I know your dad was really harsh or something when you were a kid in Ireland, but like, actually, believe it or not, you didn't deserve a leather in every night. That isn't his job. All I'm saying, basically. I know, exactly. He was like, it's just doing his job. Because that's my logic. But yeah, basically, to bring it all back, that's the mad thing I think about this. It's like in that scenario, scenario. These guys are actually who I would pick to run a fucking player association / union. They do care and they're legit. Here's another thing. Notice how when they've been involved, no antagonism, no hostility. They've even reached out to me. I'm sure they've reached out to you. You saw even the way they presented that story about news coming, and they did the interview about what's going on with coaches that are going to come out. Dude, they're doing everything right now. This is what I've wanted the whole time. Yeah,
well, I talked to Chris J as well, because obviously Chris J was the one who publicly had said, you know, the things where it's like, what can we do? We can't fight for him. You know, he put his foot in it. Like, he sort of said as well, like, listen, mentally he wasn't in a good place at that time. Pandemic was.
I sort of know what he even meant. He just misphrased it, unfortunately, in like the worst timing. Yeah,
and he took his eye off the ball, and he said back then he was struggling with his mental a little bit, and he wasn't up for a fight.
Fair enough.
You know, which, whatever, I can forgive him for that. But
people don't know, he's a rare example of where, even though technically he was being a bit hostile, that's the reason I apologise to him. Because what I realised in that scenario is, because tensions are so high, and we're making it like this, one side is right, I realised that is a legit person who's just going to get destroyed. So, like, I can't let that happen. I have to pull back and, like, look, my point stands, but don't attack this guy. Come on. Maybe he genuinely doesn't know what's going on or something, you know.
Yeah, and I like to say, I think there was a bit of that going on. And look, you know, there's some guys on the you know, CSPPA board I don't know too much about, but right now the guy who seems to be really active is Stiko, and he's an underrated character. He's got a really big brain. And he's a really nice
Omega.
Dude.
He's just a cool guy, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So listen, you know, I've got confidence. They seem to be a bit more functional, and they're actually focusing on shit that really matters to players. You know what I mean? And I'm also pretty confident, by the way, next time ESL fuck up, they're not getting a free pass. I'm pretty confident about that now. So CSPPA might come to the table, and that's going to be interesting, because I'm not going to get into this in this episode, but we will be talking about it in the future. There are a number of players who've been fucked on the stickers. They've been bilked, and you know, this is a thing that the sticker money, by the way, is something that, you know, you shouldn't have to fight for it. There's a contract there, but orgs will always try and mind fuck you. You were just a stand-in. You know, like it's crazy what's going on with some of these teams, and we're going to start seeing lawsuits coming down the fucking pipe. That's
big ones. This is what I dreamed of, Rich. There's a few things I want. Some of them are happening. So one, I want people in California to not be able to just use dodgy old esports boilerplate contracts when their company is valued at $400 million. I don't want that to be allowed, because guess what? That wouldn't be allowed at a smaller not. If me and my dad went and opened a fucking like a roofing company in the car, we can't do that, mate. We'll get banged out immediately. But you can do it and get a competitive advantage in a massive company. So there's one I want. Another one I want, this is a pipe dream, but it's going to happen eventually. I can't wait 40 years down the line when we have the IP rights debate with the devs, and they have to grant that we are doing a performative action and that we have some of the right. I can't wait for that one. But this is the other one. I want to see these contracts tested, because no one's going to court for 3 years over 50K. That's why, spoiler, even Get Right and Forest had to take the fucking dick to some degree, get what they could, and then get out when they could. These are the cases where you have people who are owed these types of money. And also, by the way, you're in Sweden as well, where they have a different sense of justice and stuff like that. So, like, I actually can't wait to see what's going to happen. I feel like we could have some breakthrough cases that could affect the whole world.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, we would have already had a few, especially in California. Motherfuckers settle real quick.
That's like, the worst part in it.
Yeah, you know, it's all a fight. It's all fun and games, and then when it comes down to it, like, people are settling. You know, just write a check, make it go away. As is tradition in America, it seems, for a lot of these things. But anyway, what I'll do now is I'll do that 2% conversation. Okay. And then it's either here at the end, like a fucking hangnail, and it makes no sense, or Sam does his job and edits it, and it all looks seamless. Who fucking knows? But let's talk about
refresh what the premise was.
Right. So it says in the contract, the player shall allocate 2% of the player's sticker money, so specifically the sticker money, that they are given contractually to a marketing fund dedicated to the CSGO team. The team shall do that when receiving the sticker money, deduct it, and then transfer it to a dedicated bank account. I am assuming one the organization controls. And then the funds will be spent on initiatives to be approved by the CSGO team, and it requires 4 members of the team to approve the money spent. So to get this clear, you could be in a team, you could sell a sticker, you get your money, 2% of the money has to go into a bank account that you do not control for the purposes of initiatives. I sort of poked around the edges on this story, and apparently initiatives means like, you know, if you want to go and have a team building dinner or you want to do a team building exercise, you're paying for it.
Wait a minute, that's mental. Yeah, if people don't get it, again, this is where Calc doesn't seem to understand. He's actually like an executive in this org. That's your business. Like Nork, who, as we've just described, was probably replaced with his own fucking money. And then we didn't know this. So we all went, how can you blame NiP? You have to take dev1ce and fuck this guy's whole career. He then is also expected to pay to make him bond with his own teammates so that you can then take credit and say you're 5 steps ahead in next level org. What is that? That comes from your share. And then second, like, here's why I found that mad. Because I initially thought that their finagle was going to be like this. When they said a marketing budget, it's like, what we do is this. We all agree to take a small percent, put it in a market budget, and then, I don't know, that advertises the next sticker sales, next major, and, you know, we do like a marketing campaign or something, and then we all make more money. That would almost work. Like, this just does sound like they're just like the joke is in an IP, they're like, right, guys, good news. We're going to give you a really good discount on the hotels for the majors. We've got like we've got the fucking club membership. They're getting you 20% off. It's like, it's default that you pay for that. You know,
I mean, crucially, it does say four members of the team have to sign off on it. Right, so that makes sense. But
I don't really know how much autonomy NIP players really have, Richard. I think history's somewhat borne out that you don't really have any while you're in NIP. No. And even worse, you do go in front of the camera on a regular basis with the AK off screen, and you just say, you know, glory to the mighty NIP who definitely aren't mistreating me. Wink, wink.
They are treating me well.
Yeah, exactly, I know exactly.
No, but like, so here's the thing though. You get yourself in a mad situations where, right, I'm on a team, right? So again, Nork and Twist. We're on this team. They were entitled to the sticker money. Let's say they got it. 2% of that $300,000, $350,000, whatever the fuck it comes out as. 2% of that goes into a bank account, right? I don't control, right? And I get dropped from the team. Now that money's still in the bank account. I ain't getting it back. I had to contractually put it into a bank account. And now I'm paying what? For dinner for the cunts I don't play with no more.
I would love it if that's actually what it was. Nork's money. First of all, his real sticker money bought the only player that could replace him. And then dev1ce is just having, you know, fucking shrimp cocktails at some bar with Nork's other money that he's paying. Like, is there something? Listen, I know I've often made a lot of inappropriate comments about Swedes being cocked, etc. But like, boys, come on.
Another cup of tea, boys.
Silly, I know. It's just silly.
Another cocktail. Like, it's fucking mad, isn't it? Like,
I know.
So, like, I've seen a lot of player contracts down here. Seen a lot of player contracts. And again, any owners out there, when you watch this, because you know all the industry motherfuckers watch it, correct me, come at me and correct me. I've never seen that 2% clause before. I've never seen a clause like it. I've never seen a clause where you are contractually obliged to give up money that another clause in the contract says I'm entitled to, but now this other clause says I have to give 2%. I'm not entitled to all of it. I'm entitled to all of it, and then I'm contractually obliged to give 2% to put into a bank account to be controlled by players that might not even be me in the future. That money sits there. So. And also, there's nothing in the contract that explains what happens if you drop the CSGO team. What then?
I mean, if I had to guess, sadly, I imagine it reverts to the team. You know what? If I had to guess, you know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly. Right? Like we never thought of this. So I guess by default, it would just go, we have the account, so it's our money. It'd be some shit like that, won't it?
Mate, there's nothing in PayPal mean fucking is so spot.
Oh, here's another angle for you. Do you want another great angle?
Yeah, go for it.
This is also how I see how NiP would envision a contract, because they're evil. Let's just be real. This is what they do, Richard. Don't worry, guys. 4 of you have to sign off on it. 4 currently active players. Oh, we're removing the 2 of you that don't want to sign off on it. Yeah, we've got 2 new people in. 4 people have signed. There we go. You could even do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could.
How this is adjudicated.
Yeah, you could. I mean, look, what I found really interesting was when I published the story, and keep in mind, I only showed the one clause that was relevant to the story. I didn't show like anything else. You know, I could have, you could have shown whatever, but didn't. But there were lawyers already replying, saying not esports lawyers, because we've gone past that now. The days of the esports lawyer are over. Now it's just real lawyers, just lawyers. And loads of replies like going, the players are fucked before they begin because they did not lawyer up. And I'm like, wait, what? How? Like, how are you even making that determination based on that singular clause? And then there was another one saying the org are being fucking scummy. I would fight for the players here. And it's like, you know, the lawyers can't even fucking decide. Like, but it just, to me, that 2% shit is weird as fuck. It's just weird as fuck because you don't get it back when you leave. You know, if it was like you will be reimbursed with an amount, you know, commensurate to what you haven't spent or whatever the fuck. But no, it's just a lump sum of thousands of dollars going into a bank account I have no dominion over, potentially to be spent by players I have no relationship with anymore, to benefit an org I'm no longer part of. You know, like I'm the petty cash for NiP.
It's wild, isn't it?
Nah, fuck that.
The joke is,
that's weird.
You know, I always say I get pissed off when people use like the Marxist terminology of like, you know, that the people who own the means of production are exploiting the worker, etc. The joke is NiP are the only ones who managed to do that somehow in CSGO. Everyone else, it's actually not really like that. Like actually players usually make out like bandits, get everything they want. They even break contract shit. Then also you got the scenario where then players use the public to go wherever they want and they break their contract. Normally the players get their way. NiP is the only one where they're just their fucking domain is just Mordor. You walk in the door and it's the stench of sulfur. You already have a fear of the eyes on you. You know, like, mate, you just enter an alternate reality when you join the team. And what's bizarre is, like, Hitcham Shaheen has to one day take responsibility. Mate, you're the only through line. And it's like this for years. Even when you get good players, it's like this. Like now this whole, the advice thing's playing out. Like, why is this org so cursed?
Well, exactly. A curse would imply some sort of sinister external force, right? And the reality is the sinister external force is very fucking internal, because as you say, there's one name that just comes up time and time again. But he was there in 2015 when all of this stuff happened. The CEO, Per Lillyfeld, carried the can. The org sort of bounced back. They did some other stuff with this. Then we had the dev1ce scandal, right? Don't forget as well, by the way, never forget that when Fifth Lauren came out in fucking 2019 and said, I'm still owed money for what I did in that organization, and he did it on my podcast. What then happened was dev1ce, who were angling to be the big, you know, the rulers of the sandpit of esports, which, by the way, entirely funded and set up by ESL and prominent teams that played in ESL. NiP were founders of dev1ce, and Hitcham Shaheen was on the board of dev1ce.
There you go.
They called for an investigation from the ESIC and said, yeah, of course, listen, we'll be completely transparent. ESIC can investigate. By the way, you got 3 days to complete the investigation, motherfucker, if you don't. Like, so Ian Smith came out and went, well,
he admitted he was pressured on that one. Yeah, I remember we talked about it. Yeah.
Remember, he came out and he said, well, look, I couldn't find anything. You had 3 days.
I know.
Think about how long they take now to do a fucking investigation. Exactly. Closer to 3 fucking
Plus,
years.
You just know that was some like Terry Gilliam shit where it was like, right, you've got 3 days, and then they just lead you down like this really long winding staircase. You just go into a massive room with filing cabinets, Rich, and half of them are just open. There's papers just flying around, and they go, you got 3 days to get to the bottom of it. And you're like, there's a million documents, and it's like, good luck. Start with A.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
And then at the end, this is the part I did blame ESIC for, though. We didn't find anything in our investigation. You didn't do an investigation, you idiot. You have to complete it. It's called due diligence. Obviously, don't ask Nell what that means. He doesn't know. Yep,
true. So look, that 2% shit's weird. Whatever. Fuck it. NiP are NiP. They're never not going to not be NiP. And we're going to wait and see how this impacts on the players moving forward, and whether CSPPA are going to wade in. Loads of stuff to come. So we'll move on from that now. Watch this space. We'll talk more about it in future. We'll get back to the challenger stage of the major, because, as I said, loads of kind of little interesting storylines. Where should we go next? Who else was a fucking raging disappointment? I suppose, is it worth even just throwing a stab in at Renegades? I had absolutely.
Oh, I have a reason for that. I'll give you an angle.
Go on.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.